Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today's story is a deep dive into the kind of betrayal that doesn't just hurt your feelings, it hits your bank account, shatters your career, and changes the trajectory of your life forever. Imagine pouring everything you have into securing a massive, life-changing deal, only to have the person you trusted most, your boss, casually steal it out from under you and then fire you just to ensure you got nothing. That's what happened to our narrator, Jake. But the universe, my friends, has a hilarious sense of irony. Years later, when that very same entitled boss found himself drowning in debt and professional failure, guess who was the only person who could save him? This is the story of professional theft, quiet success, and a two-word email that delivered the ultimate, freezing cold revenge. You absolutely do not want to miss the climax of this one. Let's get into it. My entitled boss stole my $1 million deal and got me fired. Years later, he called me begging to save his sinking company. I sent him a two-word email before hanging up. Back in my late 20s, I was working at a mid-sized investment advisory firm. I was hungry, grinding 60-hour weeks, trying to make partner. I reported directly to a man named Arthur Sterling. Sterling was the embodiment of old-school wealth, custom suits, a booming laugh, and a habit of always making you feel like you owed him something, even when he was praising you. He took me on as his protege, told me I had grit and vision. I ate it up. I genuinely respected him, even admired the way he commanded a room. I thought he was my ticket to the big leagues. My big break came when I identified a massive, untapped client base, the Apex Group. They were a huge, family-run holding company that needed a complete restructuring of their digital asset management. It was a complex, multi-million-dollar contract, the kind of deal that gets you a promotion, a giant bonus, and maybe even buys you a down payment on a house in a better zip code. The commission alone was projected to be in the seven figures. I spent 10 months courting them. I flew across the country 5 times, missed holidays, and redesigned our entire pitch deck 3 times. I meticulously documented every meeting, every detail of their unique needs, keeping my notes secure in encrypted files on my company laptop, only sharing high-level progress with Sterling, whom I trusted implicitly. Finally, the Apex Group was ready to sign. The closing was set for a Monday morning. I'd spent all Friday finalizing the contract package, making sure every I was dotted and every T was crossed. I sent Sterling a triumphant, final update email: Apex is ready. Contracts finalized. See you Monday morning to close the deal of the decade. He called me 5 minutes later, sounding elated. Jake, my boy, you've done it. Take the weekend off. You deserve it. Don't worry about coming in Monday morning, I'll handle the preliminary handshake before bringing you in for the final review. Looking back, that should have been red flag number 1000. I took the weekend off. I was celebrating, ordering fancy takeout, and mentally allocating my commission. I was on top of the world. Then Monday morning arrived. I woke up at 9 a.m. feeling refreshed and ready to conquer the world. I checked my work email on my personal phone and saw 2 notifications. The first was an internal memo from Sterling. Subject: Successful Apex Group Acquisition. The body of the email credited Sterling solely for the vision, grit, and tireless negotiation required to land the deal. Not a single mention of me. My heart started hammering against my ribs. The second email was from HR. Subject: Termination of employment. The body was cold, brief, and devastatingly professional. It cited unauthorized data access and sharing of proprietary client information as the reason for immediate termination, effective immediately. They stated that they would mail my final paycheck and that I was to immediately return the company laptop and phone. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I called Sterling immediately. It went straight to voicemail. I tried calling HR, same thing. Finally, I drove down to the office, ignoring the security guard's attempts to stop me. I found Sterling in his massive corner office, already pouring champagne. He was laughing with the other senior partners. He saw me standing there, breathless and furious, and the smile slowly faded from his face. Jake, he said, walking toward me, closing the office door behind him. I thought HR handled this. Handled what, Arthur? Firing me? Stealing my deal? What the hell is going on? I asked, struggling to keep my voice steady. Sterling sighed, running a hand over his expensive suit jacket. It's business, Jake. The Apex Group deal was too big for a junior analyst to handle. Frankly, the partners felt that having someone so inexperienced close a deal of that magnitude posed an unacceptable risk to the firm. Inexperienced? I secured the deal. I did every bit of the work. He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a condescending whisper. You were careless, Jake. The Apex Group's documents, their confidential needs assessment? They were all on your laptop, encrypted with a common password you foolishly wrote down on a sticky note. That constitutes a massive security breach and client confidence failure. We had to mitigate the damage. Legally, the contracts were structured so that if an agent is terminated before the closing papers are signed, the commission reverts to the senior partner who steps in. He paused, letting the cruelty sink in. That's me, Jake. That's business. Now, please leave before I call security. You're trespassing. I stood there for a long time, just watching him. The man I had idolized, the man I had trusted, was a thief and a snake. He didn't just steal my commission, he stole my reputation. Being fired for data breach in the finance world is a death sentence. The next few months were hell. Nobody would hire me. Every interview ended with the same polite, firm rejection after they called my old firm. My savings ran out fast. I had to move out of the city, crashing on my cousin's couch for nearly 6 months while I tried to figure out what to do. I eventually took a low-paying job doing basic tech support just to keep busy. But you know what I learned from Sterling? I learned about ruthlessness. And I learned about the importance of being irreplaceable. When Sterling accused me of a data breach, it forced me to confront my own naivete regarding digital security. I decided that if I couldn't be trusted with the clients, I would become the person who made sure no one could ever betray me again, professionally or digitally. I went back to school, specializing in obscure, hyper-niche financial technology, specifically, distributed ledger security and advanced corporate asset tracking through proprietary decentralized networks. It was incredibly complex, boring stuff to most people, but to high-net-worth firms, it was existential. I became an absolute ghost in the financial world, working independently, charging astronomical fees, and developing a reputation as the guy who could fix what literally no one else understood. I avoided the old firm's contacts like the plague. I saw vague updates about Sterling online. He eventually left the original firm and started his own boutique advisory, Sterling and Associates. It was exactly the kind of move I expected, riding the reputation he'd built on the backs of others, including the Apex deal. I barely gave him a thought, he was a relic of a painful past. Until 3 weeks ago. I was finishing up a huge consulting gig for a London firm, reviewing my 6-figure invoice, when my personal cell rang. Unknown number. I usually ignore them, but something made me answer. Hello? Jake? Jake Peterson? This is Arthur Sterling. His voice was strained, aged, almost desperate. I paused, letting the name hang in the air for a moment. Mr. Sterling, I replied, my voice cool and even. To what do I owe this distinct pleasure? He cleared his throat. Look, I know things ended badly. I made some decisions I regret. You ruined my career, stole $1 million in commission, and fabricated a termination reason that poisoned my reputation for a year. I cut him off, still calm. But go on. Sterling didn't even try to apologize. He just barreled ahead, sounding frantic. My firm, Sterling and Associates, were in trouble. Deep trouble. We landed this massive portfolio, but they required us to integrate this new proprietary DLT asset tracking system. It's cutting edge, total nightmare. It worked fine for a month, but now the verification chains are failing, and we're facing a regulatory nightmare. If we can't restore the ledger integrity by the end of the month, the client walks, and we are facing a complete collapse. Bankruptcy, Jake. The whole thing. That sounds unfortunate, I murmured, leaning back in my office chair. I know what you do now, Jake. I tracked you down. You're the best in this specific field, aren't you? The only one who can handle DLT failure analysis like this. I need your help, Jake. I need you to fix this. The irony was thick enough to choke on. The man who destroyed my life was now begging me to save his. Why me, Arthur? I asked. Because the firm we brought in the big guys, they can't figure it out. They're asking for millions just to diagnose the problem. I'm tapped out, Jake. I'll pay anything. I'll give you 50% of the recovery fee. I'll make you a partner in my firm. Just save it. I let him beg for another full minute. He listed names of clients he was losing, the houses he was about to sell, the shame he felt. The desperation in his voice was genuine. He was facing professional ruin, exactly the same fate he had deliberately handed me years ago. It felt like watching a snake finally choke on its own venom. I need to think about it, I finally said. Email me the full proposal, outlining the scope of work, your budget, and the fee structure you're proposing. I'll get back to you by the end of the day. Sterling was overjoyed. Thank you, Jake. Thank you. I knew I could count on you. This means everything. He promised the full proposal in under an hour. I hung up the phone. I didn't need the proposal. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I sat down at my computer, opened a new email, and typed in his work address. The subject line was professional, Sterling and Associates Consulting Inquiry. The body of the email contained only 2 words. 2 carefully chosen, professional, devastating words that referenced the exact reason he had used to justify robbing me years ago. I hit send immediately, before I could lose my nerve. Then I blocked his number and his email address permanently. I didn't hear anything for about 15 minutes. Then my cell phone history started filling up with missed calls from Sterling's office line, 7, 8, 9 missed calls in rapid succession. Then the text messages started pouring in from his emergency personal number, all frantic, all demanding to know what I meant. Finally, I checked my email one last time, just to see his final response. It was a reply all to the short message I had sent him, and it was pure, unadulterated panic. Jake, are you serious? What does that mean? You can't do this to me. I begged you. The email I had sent him, the final, perfect revenge that referenced the reason he stole my $1 million deal, was only 2 words long. Conflict of interest. It was a perfectly professional way to say, I cannot, under any circumstances, help a man whose past behavior towards me makes our future working relationship impossible. I was citing an ethical constraint, the very corporate structure he used to justify stealing from me. I laughed out loud. He knew exactly what it meant. It meant that I knew what he had done, I was perfectly capable of saving his firm, and I was choosing to walk away and let him burn. It was the ultimate, clean, professional annihilation. I never heard from Arthur Sterling again. A few weeks later, I read an article in the industry news, Sterling and Associates ceases operations amidst unresolvable regulatory compliance failures. His firm was gone. His reputation was utterly destroyed, this time by his own failures. I got my closure, not by taking his money or his job, but by denying him the one thing he needed most, a lifeline. And the best part? I didn't break any rules. I simply cited a conflict of interest. Wow! What a cold-blooded and utterly satisfying end to that story. Jake managed to deliver revenge that wasn't just financial, but psychological, forcing Sterling to confront his past betrayal in his most vulnerable moment. Now, I want to know what you think. Was Jake's 2-word reply the perfect revenge, or do you think he should have taken the deal, fixed the company, and then squeezed Sterling dry? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you love this story, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another video. See you in the next one.